Hello everyone and welcome to the launch of Fellow 2.1. My name is Erin Blasky and I head up marketing here at Fellow, and I am so excited. Today is a big day for us. Our team has been working extremely hard behind the scenes to build features and integrations that really will up-level your meetings, and we can't wait to share those with you. So first up, you're going to hear from our CEO, Aiden, who will share with some thoughts with you on where work is headed in general, but also the opportunity that exists within meetings for better productivity and optimization. Aiden will then, alongside Manuela, give you a demo of all of the new features inside of Fellow 2.1. Following Aiden's demo, you're going to hear from Alexandra, our engineering manager. Alexandra is going to share two very exciting integration announcements that you will not want to miss. And then I'll be back on your screen at the end with a lightning talk that focuses on meeting productivity. I have 5 best practices that you'll want to implement right away in your organization, so stay tuned to the end for that. Before I pass it off to Aiden though, I just want to thank each of you for being here. I know how valuable your time is, and we really appreciate you being a part of our community. Now, over to Aiden.
Hey everyone, it's really good to see you all again, and welcome to Fellow 2.1. We're so excited to have you all here. If you remember, this is our second big launch. We just had our Fellow 2.0 launch on August 12th, and we're so excited to show you 2.1 today. A lot has happened since we last saw each other for the 2.0 launch. One of the things is that thanks to all of you and all of your ratings and all of your reviews, we were just ranked #1 in the meeting management category of all software by G2. We couldn't have done that without all of your help, so thank you. It means a lot. So today, there's a lot of things that we've done for Fellow 2.1, but the thing that we really want to chat with you about is what's happened to the world and the way in which we work. As you know, with the pandemic, a lot of teams have been forced to work in a very distributed manner, and companies everywhere are starting to embrace this concept of remote work or hybrid teams, and a lot is changing. A lot of us are having our meetings through Zoom calls, through Google Meet, and through MS Teams, and with this type of an environment, a different set of tools is required. And that's why a lot of what we've done today is really doubling down on remote meetings so we can make every one of your remote meetings great meetings. Our goal is to make it so that it's harder for you to have an unproductive meeting than to have a productive one. And so hopefully we can show you a lot of that stuff today. You know, the other thing I wanted to kind of highlight is that this concept of remote work also has this additional benefit in the sense that now with every single meeting, everybody's coming into the meeting with technology. So technology is being used at every part of the meeting, and we think that by using technology and tools like Fellow, you're finally going to be able to solve this meeting productivity problem. It's a problem that's plagued working people since the beginning of time for decades on end. There's so many studies about the billions lost in productivity because of unproductive meetings, and now that every meeting starts and uses technology, I think we can finally solve this problem. There's so much that we're going to show you today. I'm so very excited that you all are joining us on this journey. So without further ado, let's see Fellow 2.1.
Manuela, it's good to see you again.
Hayden, it's great to be back. I can't believe it's been, like 3 months since Fellow 2.0?
Yeah, I was going to say 3 months since Fellow 2.0, not 3 months since we saw each other.
No.
I mean, we don't want people to think normal course of business, there's no interaction. No, of course.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear about all these new features that I know our amazing team has been building for the past quarter. So really excited to be here today and share that with our community.
Amazing. Cool. So, I mean, you heard it in the introduction, right? Like, we are really doubling down on remote work. Like, it is something that we really want to help facilitate distributed teams. I mean, we've been helping meetings, people have meetings. We've been helping people manage teams. This is something that we do, but the reality of the world is like we're accelerating towards this concept of distributed teams. And for us, what that means is that a lot of meetings today happen with technology. I mean, we're having this meeting with Zoom right now. We have other meetings with Google Meet. We have others with MS Teams. And so Fellow really needs to jive very well in these environments. And so last time in Fellow 2.0, you saw that we launched the ability for you to get to those conference, video conference links much faster. So I have Fellow open. This is my calendar. The whole world can see everything I did today. And you see that I've clicked on my Fellow 2.1 event, and here are our notes. Normally what I would do is I would walk into this meeting and I would click on join Google Meet. So let me just go do that. I'd get another window, and you can see the window that showed up, Manuela.
Yes.
Awesome. So, this is basically my normal course of business, right? Go to Fellow, click on a link, show up here. And then what I would do is I would just click on join now. And now that I'm, on this page, basically, this is where I have my meeting. And so what's cool about this is you notice this beautiful thing on the left, which is our brand new Google Chrome extension. And what it does is, as you saw, it very quickly is, just because I clicked on the right meeting, it already knows what meeting I'm having, and it shows up right here. And it's always present. So I don't need to go looking for Fellow. I can just, if I got to my Google Meet through my calendar, I just open it up and Fellow shows up right on the left. And both of us can start, typing in this. And as you can see, it's real time. It's basically the entire Fellow interface, always located here. And it just makes it that much easier, right? And if I scroll down, I can see, what the other meetings were, and I can see the tabs, and everything else that Fellow offers is just right here in compact. And the key is I don't have to do anything. There is one thing I want to show you as a hack, though. Sometimes you have a lot of people in the same sort of room, and we've made this flexible so you can kind of move it around. To move it around on your screen, you can kind of minimize it, which is nice. But a hack that I wanted to show everyone is you can always open up the chat screen. And if you open up the chat screens, then you can move Fellow to the side here. And that way it actually won't block anyone's face, especially if there's a lot of faces on the screen, and it'll be kind of in its own zone there.
That's awesome. It's so helpful that as soon as you click join Google Meet, the Google Meet opens, and it opens with Fellow right there. So you can have your video call and your meeting agenda next to each other. That's really helpful.
Yeah, I think, it goes back to this concept of what we're trying to do is we're trying to make it easier for you to have a productive meeting than to have a bad meeting. And so it's all about, one of the things that, we do internally is obviously we walk into our Google Meet, the Chrome extension pulls up our meetings. We look at everybody's faces and see that there's rings around them, which means that they're present and they're really having an active meeting. And from now on, there's just no excuse for everybody not to participate in the same meeting, to take collaborative notes and really be part of that experience. So that's not the only thing that the Google Chrome extension does. It also has something in my calendar. So I have my calendar opened. This is the week of December. This is what my calendar looks like. I wanted to show this event because it's got Christmas and Boxing Day and all these happy holidays. So wanted to put that there. But here's what's really cool, right? So if I click on, say, my sales meeting over here, you'll notice that this is me and Dan. We're having this sales meeting. And you now see this button here that says add Fellow to this meeting. And what's really cool about that is when I click on it, what will happen is Fellow will open to another window, and it'll make it really easy for you to type in an agenda for that particular event. And then what Fellow does is it's going to basically add that particular link to that particular event. So now that that event actually has a link, when I go back here, you'll notice that this meeting now has a link to Fellow. So we make it that much faster and easier for you to add an agenda to any meeting. Yeah, so the Chrome extension, obviously, so it does these two things. You open up your Google Meet meeting, it's just going to show up. And then obviously when you're in your calendar, you can click on any meeting and it's going to very quickly, with that button, allow you to add an agenda to any particular meeting. It's going to open the Fellow page. And as soon as you do, the link shows up in your calendar.
That's awesome. So now there's no excuse for people to not have a meeting agenda, right?
100%. So it's all about reducing the friction, and that's something that we do. The other thing is in Fellow 2.0, we had this other feature that we launched, which was the ability for you to have guest users. So we want you to be able to not only have productive meetings with your internal folks, but we also want you to be able to do it with your customers, with your agencies, with whoever else that you work with. And that's something that you've been using as well, right? You've been using the guest user feature?
Yeah, we use the guest user feature a lot with agencies, consultants, and basically anyone outside our company who we meet with on a regular basis. And it's super helpful. Like we always say, if you want to create a culture of productive meetings, you also need to spread that productivity with the people that you meet with outside of your company, right?
Yeah, because it's like if you have your internal meetings are great, but your external ones are not, it's hard to build that habit. And so one of the things that we've done is we've spent a little bit more time to make that easier. So we've listened to our users, we've listened to you, Manuela, and all the other folks on the team who've been using it. And so I'm just going to click on this event, and this is what we call our guest user enhancements. So we want to make it really easy for you to be able to add these guest users. Before you had to go find the guest user's email address and you'd have to paste it in and then invite them. And it was all this work. And so one of the things we heard is can you make that easier for us? So now when you're in an event that actually already has guest users, you can just click on this link and automatically that guest user is going to show up as soon as you press share. You can share it with them and immediately they're going to have access. So that was really easy, right? It was,
super easy. And you know what? I really like that the share button said something like invite one guest user. It's like Fellow knew that there was one person attending this meeting that wasn't in the note.
Yeah. And it's important to note that this is not done by default, right? We don't want, a lot of times I'll even be having a meeting with a customer and I'm really taking notes for myself. I don't want the customer to see that information because, they're just personal notes and it might not make sense to them. But in cases where you want to do it, we just want to make it easy with a click of a button, to be able to do that. The other thing that we heard is, especially for recurring meetings, we wanted to make it really easy for the guest users to have access to those meetings. And now, just like in your one-on-one notifications, when we have one-on-ones, Fellow will tell us, hey, you have this one-on-one meeting coming up, just so that we have that extra little bit of time to prep for it. And so now we do things like that for our guest users as well. So, often we heard guest users want to get in, they just forgot what the link was. And so now you can obviously access that through your calendar, but you could also access that, directly through some of the notifications that we've built. So all this to say is the guest user experience is even better than ever. There's dozens of other enhancements and changes that we've made. So if you've tried guest users in the past, now is the time to double down on it for your customers, for your agency, for your accountants. I mean, we use it for our board meetings. Really, we really want every meeting in your life to become an amazing meeting. And we just have to help you do that with people outside the organization too.
Yeah, and I just want to say, with the agencies we work with, they've been saying that it's really helpful for them because they can literally see the history of our meetings in one place, right? Just by scrolling. So that's really helpful for them as well.
Yeah. So far, we've talked about a few cool things. I want to show you one more thing. It's all about reducing the friction, right? One of the things that we've heard is, I'm already in Fellow. I spend my entire day in Fellow. My day is, I open up my meetings page. I click on the first one and then the second one and then the third one. And that's my day. I just live in Fellow.
You have a lot of meetings.
We have a lot of meetings. And, for people who have a lot of meetings, I mean, that's their use case. And so the thing is that we really wanted to reduce the friction for when you want to create another meeting. So, I mean, you know how it goes. Sometimes you're in a meeting and what you discover from that meeting is that you need to have another meeting. Now, we want to make, in those cases, for it easier for you to be able to do things like that without ever having to leave Fellow. Again, it's all about, we care about the user experience. We really want to make this as easy as possible. So you can do all the things that you want in as little clicks as possible. So if you notice at the top left now, there's this beautiful little plus button.
Yeah.
And when you click on it, you get this dialog, and I can say, I can do an event, say Manuela plus Aiden. And, I obviously want to invite you to that. So let me do that. I can type your name. You're already there. It's going to automatically, it knows that I have Google hooked up. So it's going to add my video conferencing. And here's the best part. You'll notice that there's even suggested times. So when I click on this, it's going to figure out like when both of us are available. And we can just choose a time. So say tomorrow from 9 to 9:30 a.m. And if I want to change it, I'm like, no, I actually want it to be 45 minutes. It'll allow me to do that. And I can put
really
whatever
cool.
test description that I want here.
That's awesome. I really like that it gives you like some suggested times for when both people are available. That's really cool.
Yeah. And the other thing I should say is that keep in mind that this isn't just something that happens in Fellow, right? When I do confirm this, obviously it's going to show up in Fellow. You'll see it show up in my calendar on the left, but it's also putting it in my Google Calendar. And if you're using Microsoft Office 365, it's going to put it in your Office calendar as well.
Oh, there it is. And I just got an email saying I was invited to this event. So that's awesome.
Cool. Yeah. So again, it's all about the little things. I mean, this is the stuff that we care about, and we're just trying to make the experience that much better for everybody and make it easier for everybody to have productive meetings. So are you ready for the last part? And I think maybe potentially, I think this might be your favorite part.
Oh, yeah. Tell me more.
So, how you've been asking for, you've been asking for a lot of stuff within the meetings, and, our customers have. And so in this next part, we're going to reveal a whole bunch of note enhancements. And the first of these is, and I know you've said this a lot, which is like, when are we going to be able to use colors and highlights in our meetings?
Yeah. I'm a very colorful person.
Exactly. And so the good news is we now have that ability.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, do you want to check it out? I was going to demo it, but I'm actually just thinking that that you should check it out and show everybody.
Okay. So you said we have highlights.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm assuming if I highlights, I'm assuming if you highlight this text, I see like
I'll do it so
menu.
Everybody can kind of see it.
Yeah, you should show it too. And we have like 6 different colors that I can use to highlight my notes.
Yeah.
This is going to be really helpful for my action items. Like I can't wait to highlight them with different colors to know, which type of action item they are.
Yeah. And I mean, similarly, there's those font colors as well. So you can use font colors and highlights, and you can use a combination of them both. And it really starts to bring your meetings to life. There is one more thing that I want to show you that I think is really, really cool. And that's the fact that if you notice in the toolbar at the bottom, so now we make it easier for you to basically add both talking points and action items anywhere. At the bottom, if you click on any one of these items here, so say a talking point, it'll just kind of add a talking point. If you want to add an action item, it'll add an action item. So it just makes it easier than ever. People are already used to toolbars. So we just created one to make it very simple for you to do that. And one thing that you'll notice is that there's another thing here in the toolbar that is basically the image type. So when I click on that, what you'll notice is it asks me to choose something. And I took this screenshot of us, and you'll notice that as soon as I add that basically gets added as an image strip at the bottom.
Oh, that's awesome. And I can see you can edit the caption too, which is cool.
Yeah, totally. So you can edit the caption, you can edit the images, you can swap this image with another one. And one cool
I have a question. Can I use GIFs for this? I know our team
is a great question. You can absolutely use GIFs. So why don't you try adding one and see what happens?
Okay, I'm gonna try adding this dancing one. Can you see it?
Yeah, it just got uploaded. That's awesome. So that's very, very cool. So the nice thing is, one of the things we heard is, people want screenshots of charts and different things here. And so what's cool is when I click on this, you can see, you can
Oh
basically,
yeah,
if you add it back, what we'll be able to see is that,
I'll add another one.
yeah. And so the thing is, like, by the way, you can also drag and drop from your desktop. So here's another, like me dragging and dropping and sort of like dropping it in here. So you can drag and drop from anywhere and those images start to show up. And what's cool about that is when you click on the plus button to view those, you can use your keyboard to move from that image to the next one, to the next one. So all of this is, again, it just starts to make your meetings that much better. And what we didn't tell people is you can also upload videos here. So this is
Cool.
totally. And this is one of the things that I want to start, doing more of, which is for like stand-up meetings. Maybe you're recording a video of yourself and you're putting your section and like your response as a video directly into Fellow. So I think it's the things you can do. I mean, it's endless.
Yeah, we're starting to do a lot of asynchronous meetings in the marketing team. So I think adding a video will be really helpful for that. Just like updating each other, but not necessarily having to meet in real time.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, that's what we're all about. We're trying to make this, all the different types of meetings that you have, one-on-ones, team meetings, asynchronous meetings, town halls, whatever you call it. We want to make all of those things great. So should we do a quick recap?
Yes, let's do it.
Yeah.
This is so much fun. I'm going to have so much fun adding GIFs to my meetings.
So, I mean, we started out with the Google Chrome extension. It's going to, the second that you open up your Google Meet meeting, it's going to show up the Fellow agenda side by side. You don't have to lift a finger. We also showed that we're going to throw buttons in your calendar. So when you have a calendar event in your calendar, you can add a Fellow agenda to it. We showed you how you can create meetings right within Fellow with the green plus button. We showed you all the extra additions we made to adding guest users so you can meet with your customers and with everybody else that is external to your organization. We showed you how you can have images and videos into your meetings. We showed you highlights and colors. And the best part is we're not done yet.
No, and the last image I added is almost like a sneak peek of what's coming.
Oh, that's actually really clever. That's awesome. So where do we go next from here, Manuela?
So we're going to see Alexandra, who's going to tell us more about our new integrations. I'm really excited about this.
That's awesome. So we'll hand it over to Alexandra.
The first thing that I want to show you today is our brand new Microsoft Teams application. Teams is an instant communication platform for businesses that comes as a part of the Office 365 set of products and makes it easy to chat with coworkers, organize your work, and collaborate while bringing a lot of different tools into one spot. Before today, you could sign into Fellow with your Microsoft account and import all of your Outlook calendar data, but you would need to go into Fellow anytime you wanted to create a meeting agenda or check on the status of an action item or do anything like that. This was forcing you to have two apps open at the same time, which is a bit distracting because you're doing a lot of context switching every time you jump back and forth between each one. With this new app, we've brought Fellow directly into Teams so that you can switch from chatting with your team to checking the latest team meeting note distraction-free. Often you might see messages come up that you could reply to right away, but you might not want to because you know that if you reply right away, the other person will also feel obligated to reply right away and you'll be causing each other a lot of distraction. Instead, what you might want to do is add this item to your next meeting agenda. And what you would have to do before is copy and paste this text into your Fellow agenda, causing some more distractions because you're context switching between different applications. But now with message actions, what we're able to do is select immediately to add this item to a private stream, a shared stream, a meeting note, or a one-on-one. I'm going to want to talk to Callum about how I think he did a great job. But not every talking point comes directly from chat messages. Sometimes you just have a thought and you want to be able to quickly add that to your next team meeting agenda. We've made that very easy too by making a Fellow tab available up here. When you set up your Fellow tab, you're able to choose any stream at all that you have access to within Fellow, or create a brand new one, which will display here so that everyone on your team can see the same thing. Here I've chosen our asynchronous team meeting so that everyone within our team can come here and put their status updates without having to leave the application. This note is fully editable just like in Fellow and has all of the same features. This is a great way to reduce distractions for your team and make it very easy to find the right notes at the right time. But maybe you have another team meeting or another stream that you want everyone within a channel to be able to see without giving them explicit access to it in Fellow. In that case, all you need to do is post the link to the URL and it will unfurl automatically. Everyone will be able to see the content of the notes directly within Fellow without having to set up the tab and without having to go to Fellow. By bringing Fellow directly into Microsoft Teams, where your team is working most of the time, we're hoping that we're going to help create a distraction-free environment and make it easier than ever to keep on top of meeting agendas, shared streams, and in general, whatever is going on at work. Of course, you can't talk about asynchronous communication without also talking about Slack. Together with Slack, we've added to our integration and built on top of their brand new custom workflow steps platform. Slack workflows allow you to automate tasks when specific actions are taken within the platform, like sending a message to someone when a particular emoji reaction is used on a message within a particular channel. Recently, this platform was opened up to allow third-party applications like Fellow to build their own custom steps, which lets you build your own integration between Slack and Fellow without having to write any code. The incredible thing about this integration is that it can do whatever you want it to. While each action that the steps take is built by us, the way that these steps fit together is controlled by you, and the possibilities are endless. I want to show you some of the workflows that I've created and that I use in my day-to-day work here. Now, the first one that I want to show you is this post-team meeting agenda workflow. Workflows within Slack can be triggered by a particular date and time, and they can also be triggered on a recurring basis. So here I have a workflow that starts November 17th at 10 a.m., and it's going to happen every single Tuesday after that. Now, I have a dev team meeting on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. And before we had this integration, I would go into Fellow every Tuesday in the morning and I would send the notes manually to Slack to our team channel to make sure that everyone had time to look over the agenda and add any items that they wanted to talk about. That took a lot of effort and it required me remembering to do it, which I didn't always do. And so now we have this workflow that triggers every single week at the same time before the meeting happens. And then using our custom Fellow step, we'll send that meeting note directly to Slack. Now, if you've ever used our send meeting note functionality within Fellow to send a note to Slack, you'll know that this sends the full contents of the note to whatever channel you choose with the ability to add to that note directly from Slack without having to leave and go back to Fellow. Inside this step, you get to choose whatever meeting note you'd like to send. You can also choose a shared stream or even a one-on-one, and you get to choose the channel that it gets posted to. I've used this and now we never forget to add to the meeting note and it always goes out on time. The second workflow that I'd like to show you is this request access workflow. Workflows can be started manually from the shortcut menu down here where the lightning bolt is, where you can choose an action to start off the series of steps that you put together here. One of the things that we do is we usually have a Slack channel for a particular project going on, and then also a shared stream within Fellow to track action items and questions and answers from that project. Now, sometimes people join the Slack channel, which is easily discoverable, and then they also want to see the shared stream in Fellow, but they need to figure out who owns that stream or who is in that stream and ask them for permission to join and have that manually shared with them. There's no way for them to just join it automatically.
What we've done here, though, is people can manually trigger this request access workflow, which then uses a custom Fellow step to add someone to that Fellow stream that you've chosen. Now, the cool thing about Slack workflow steps is that we have these variables. Now, instead of choosing a person specifically to add to the stream, we can choose to add the person who clicked that request access button. And then using a built-in Slack step, we can send a message to them and use a Fellow variable to say, give them the stream URL so that once they've been given access to it, they can jump right into it very quickly. This saves a lot of hassle for everyone because you don't have to track down who owns what stream, or even if there is a stream to join. People can give themselves self-serve access to the streams that they have been allowed to see. There are many other workflow steps available. For example, adding action items to a stream, adding talking points, and lots of other applications as well that support Slack workflow steps. Now, the interesting thing about this is that you can chain together any number of steps from any number of different applications. So you don't just have to build an integration between Fellow and Slack. You can build an integration between Fellow and Zapier, Fellow and Datadog and PagerDuty and all of these other companies, and make use of the variables that they're sending to chain together these actions and create whatever custom workflow fits your needs best. I hope you enjoyed the quick look at our new integrations. We've put a lot of thought towards how they can help you minimize distractions and work towards stronger asynchronous communication. And I think that they'll really make a difference for you and your team. Thanks for joining.
As Aiden and Alexandra showed you, there are so many incredible features in this release, and we cannot wait to hear what you think about all of them. So if you don't already know, my name is Erin and I head up marketing here at Fellow. And as Aiden mentioned at the beginning of the event, we've entered a really exciting time in work history. So we're leveraging tech today to help us do our jobs more than we've ever done before. And we're finally able to put that same lens on something that we're pretty passionate about, and that is the meeting. So it's no secret, I love meetings, but more importantly, I like productive meetings. So before we close out today's event, I'm going to share with you 5 meeting productivity pro tips to help you have the best meetings possible inside of your organization. So the first is that the agenda is everything. I know it's going to sound obvious, but without a meeting agenda, your meeting will suffer from some of the most common pitfalls. The meeting will go off track, important things won't be discussed, quieter voices won't be heard, and the meeting will expand to fill the time allotted, whether it needed to or not. So my pro tips around the agenda is as follows. Never build the agenda in isolation. I highly recommend gathering all of the voices at the table before the meeting starts to ensure that the most important things are surfaced and so that any one person doesn't dominate the conversation. The second is that the person who called the meeting needs to run that meeting and really keep to the agenda as much as possible. And finally, if there isn't a talking point on the agenda at least 15 minutes before the meeting starts, consider making it a rule that that meeting will be canceled. As you've seen today, Fellow makes building collaborative agendas really easy and makes taking notes in real time together super simple. The second pro tip is that not all meetings need to be synchronous. While many meetings do require a synchronous conversation or perhaps a discussion and make decisions and move work forward, many don't. Some meetings can run really well asynchronously, which means that attendees populate the agenda at a time that suits them best without having to attend a meeting in real time. One of my favorite things that we do in the marketing team here at Fellow is that we run our daily stand-up meetings as asynchronous meetings. So we have a standing calendar item for the stand-up every day at 9:30 and an agenda template that we use for each of those meetings. Every member of our marketing team pops into the agenda every day. They fill in what their top priorities are, they ask questions, share blockages that need to be removed, and they respond to anything in the agenda that falls within their wheelhouse. Since Fellow has a history of all of these meeting notes, any one of the people on our team can jump in and scroll back in time to see past answers to questions, what was decided or discussed in previous async meetings, and of course, most importantly, follow up on action items. So this method has really honestly freed up some valuable time, and it's allowed us to have a great historical source of truth for our department. The third pro tip is to leverage meeting agenda templates. So this one's especially helpful for recurring meetings, but it's honestly a great habit for every meeting. For all of the meetings I'm responsible for, I develop a meeting agenda template, or I use one of our pre-built templates, and then I reuse that same template for every single meeting. The reason that this is so powerful, beyond just the time-saving benefit for me as the organizer, is because it really builds in reliability and expectation for the meeting attendees for the talking point buckets. If they're the same each agenda, people can come to expect what's going to be discussed and the order it'll be discussed in. So as those meeting attendees then move throughout their work week and they're coming up against updates or questions that pertain to those specific topics, they can just go into the meeting agenda and add the items there versus pinging people in Slack, which helps to reduce overall noise and allows folks to get into deep work. The fourth pro tip I have is using the meeting agenda to build project momentum. So one of my favorite things to do is to ensure that all of the moving parts of a project or a task list are inside of meeting agendas to build transparency and momentum. So I put a running list of projects and tasks in each of my main check-in meetings, and I use a color-coded system to let people know where we're at with certain tasks. This way, if someone needs to know what's holding something up or where we're at with the project, they can just come into the agenda, and if they have clarifying questions or talking points for the next meeting agenda, they just add them right there. This is also a great way to ensure that project meetings are focused on execution and clearly define who's going to do what and by when. If your team knows what they're accountable for and they can see that task and they can see that it's color-coded, maybe yellow or red, not done, and they want to move it over the finish line to green, they're going to be extra motivated to do that before the next meeting. Finally, the fifth tip, sharing good meeting habits with everyone you meet with. So one of the upsides to building Fellow is that we've all developed some pretty great meeting habits, but when you start meeting with people outside of the company, you quickly realize that that's not the case for everyone. I like to leverage Fellow's guest user feature to invite everyone I meet with, including folks outside of our company, into my Fellow agendas so that we benefit from the processes and the habits that I've built up. I can leverage meeting agenda templates, I can surface note-taking in a transparent way, and we can use the agenda to drive accountability through every meeting. The best part is, though, it also forces people to think about the why behind their meeting, which nearly 100% of the time drives more productivity and efficiency through the meeting because it forces people to get clear about why they're borrowing your time and what the purpose of meeting is. Another side benefit to inviting everyone you meet with into Fellow is that it can also help change habits internally. So if you're struggling with perhaps the internal meeting habits at your organization or in a team, you can use Fellow because it naturally builds better meeting habits in meeting attendees. It creates the perfect container for better conversations and improves overall productivity. All right, to wrap things up, I'm going to encourage everyone to give a few of these best practices a try inside of your own organization and let us know how it improves productivity both in and out of your meetings. If you're not yet using Fellow, honestly, this is a great time to jump on board and let us know how it's helped turn your meetings into productive work sessions. Thanks so much. This has been a great event and we really honestly appreciate your support and we appreciate you being here. If you have any questions about anything we've showed you today, let us know. You can reach us on social or anywhere else. Through our website is great as well. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your day and we'll chat with you soon.